In today's video, I go into detail about how I would build my turntable setup all over again from scratch if I was a beginner and I was on a budget. Welcome back to the channel. Now, here on this channel, I actually have covered a few times my journey, so to speak, through the vinyl hobby. I've covered how I went from a cheap, fully automatic record player all the way to the turntable setup that I have now. But I started thinking about it recently. How would I do this whole thing all over again if I was starting from scratch as a beginner and I was also on a budget? So that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this video, and hopefully it can provide a little bit of guidance to any new fans coming into the vinyl hobby. So for this video, I really wanted to break it up into three separate sections. The first section is going to be all about choosing the best turntable. The second section is going to be all about choosing the best phono preamp, and the last section will be about choosing the best speakers. Also, if you're interested in purchasing any of the products that I talk about in this video, I'll make sure to leave a link down below in the description. Alright, so let's first talk about turntables, and I'm going to have a couple different options here because I'm going to first talk about fully automatic turntables, and then I'm going to talk about options if you want a manual turntable. Okay, so now let's first talk about fully automatic turntables, and this one is going to be a little bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to recommend the Audio-Technica AT-LP70X. Now, this is a belt-driven turntable that I think is going to be a very easy-going experience that's going to kind of slowly usher you into the world of vinyl. Now, the AT-LP70X does play at 33 and 45 RPM speeds, and it does come with a J-shaped tone arm. And as mentioned before, this is a fully automatic turntable, which means that it is a low maintenance record player. So basically that means that you don't have to worry about figuring out which track you want to listen to, and you don't even have to be around the turntable when the actual record finishes playing and moving the tone arm back to its rest and turning off the turntable. This record player will do everything for you from beginning to end automatically. Now, this turntable costs about $200, but if you actually want the wireless experience built into it, then you can pay about $50 for the Bluetooth version of this turntable and be able to listen to your vinyl records wirelessly as well. And what this really means is that you can play your vinyl record and you can output the sound to your favorite Bluetooth wireless speaker that you already have in your home. So for example, I own the JBL Charge Bluetooth speaker. It's a little small portable speaker that has pretty good sound given the actual small size. And so if I had this Audio-Technica turntable, I could then connect the JBL Charge to the turntable, and when I play my record, the sound will actually come out on my wireless speaker. Now, this Audio-Technica record player is actually one I have a little bit of experience with because over 10 years ago when I first got into the hobby, my very first turntable was an Audio-Technica AT-LP60. So I really do have some experience and a little bit of fondness having this kind of usher me into the vinyl game, so to speak. And so this Audio-Technica AT-LP70X is really just the newer version of the older record player that I had over 10 years ago. Now, if you want a manual turntable, you're usually going to have to spend a little bit more money. And so because of that, I'm going to give you two different options here. Now, let's first start with the U-Turn Orbit Plus. Now, there are a few reasons why I actually really like this turntable. Now, the first thing that I like about this turntable is admittedly how it looks. I really like the fact that this is a belt-driven turntable that actually has the belt on the outside. It's exposed around the perimeter of the platter as opposed to having the belt be hidden underneath the platter. Turntables that have this particular look always feel a bit more unique in my eyes, and I also really like the fact that the U-Turn Orbit Plus has an acrylic platter as well. In general, I also really do like acrylic platters. I think they're very nice for playback. You don't need to have a felt mat with them either, so you can take your record, throw it right on top of the acrylic platter. No need for a felt mat. Very simple, easy, clean look. The U-Turn Orbit Plus also comes in a wide variety of colors too, so if that matters to you to be able to kind of express yourself or maybe make your turntable stand out a bit more, you can get this particular turntable in red or blue or green or even a walnut color. This turntable also comes with the Ortofon OM5E cartridge and retails for about $400 on average, so it is a bit more than the Audio-Technica AT-LP70X, but in my opinion, you are getting more value for your money here, even though you are sacrificing a bit of convenience here to actually get more quality. It's also worth noting that for about an additional $80, you can get a version of this turntable that comes with a built-in phono preamp as well. So that's really going to make this turntable plug and play. You can plug it directly into your personal amplifier or your speakers and be able to enjoy the music really immediately out of the box. Now, if you're somebody that's willing to spend a little bit more money, then I think it's really worth thinking about the Project T1 Evo. Now, this turntable is actually advertised by Project themselves as an audiophile entry-level turntable. Now, the Project Debut Carbon turntable was my very first upgrade when it came to going from a automatic turntable to a manual turntable. And I really liked the Project Debut Carbon because it allowed me to be able to customize that turntable to my liking, and I got everything from an acrylic platter to the Ortofon 2M red and blue and eventually the Ortofon 2M bronze cartridge. Ultimately, the Project Debut Carbon allowed me to grow within the vinyl hobby and learn more about what I actually liked and disliked in terms of turntable equipment. So I really kind of credit that turntable and Project as well, just for being able to help me kind of get my bearings and tastes in order for where I eventually would go in the hobby itself. So when it comes to the Project T1 Evo, I really like that this is a turntable that has a wood plinth and it doesn't feature any plastic parts. I also really like the fact that they give the customer here a glass platter when it comes to this turntable, so you really are kind of kicking the quality game up a notch. Now, this turntable features the Ortofon OM10 moving magnet cartridge, and the T1 Evo retails for about $500 on average. Now, one of the things that I do like about this turntable is that they give you some options here depending on what you particularly want in the turntable itself. So for example, if you wanted a version of this turntable that came with a built-in phono preamp, you could pay about an additional $100 to be able to get that. And on top of that, if you wanted a version of this turntable that not only came with a built-in phono preamp, but was also Bluetooth capable, then you could pay about $50 more on top of it. So overall, that would bring this package to about $650 for the Bluetooth and built-in phono preamp combination. If you just wanted the built-in phono preamp combination, that's about $600. And if you wanted just the base version of the T1 Evo, no built-in phono preamp, no Bluetooth, it would run you about $500 on average. All right, so now let's move on and talk about phono preamps. All right, so now if you're looking for something that's simple and effective, then I would first recommend the Shit Manny phono preamp. Now, this is going to be a phono preamp that is going to be very small and compact, and it's also going to be able to work with moving magnet cartridges as well as moving coil cartridges too. Now, this is a phono preamp that will run you about $180 or so on average, maybe $180 to $200, and all of the gain adjustments that you can make are actually located on the underside of the phono preamp. Now, another phono preamp option that you can look into here is called the Project PhonoBox S2. And I actually think that this preamp resembles the Shit Manny quite a bit. This phono preamp by Project costs a little bit more at $250, and it also comes with 4 adjustable gain levels. And just like the Shit Manny, the PhonoBox S2 works with both moving magnet and moving coil cartridges. Now, if you're looking for a phono preamplifier that has a vacuum tube design, maybe because you want a little bit more warmth in your music, then in order to save some money, I might recommend going the hybrid tube/solid state design here and going with something like the Vincent PHO 701. Now, this is a phono preamp that costs less than $1,000, and one of the things that I really like about it is that the power supply comes in a separate chassis from the actual phono preamp itself. Now, this phono preamp also allows you to be able to digitize your records, which is actually kind of important depending on what your collection actually entails. If, for example, you have a record that you really like that only came out on vinyl, it never came out on 8-track, it never came out on cassette, it never came out on CD, and it certainly never hit the internet, then you might actually want to digitize that record, preserve it for future generations, and you can do that via the USB output that's built inside of the Vincent PHO701. I personally own the Vincent PHO701. I've been using it for several years now, and I really do love it. All right, and finally, let's talk about speakers, because there are a lot of options here, perhaps too many options, so let's see what we can do. All right, so if you're a beginner to the hobby, I think it's best to really think about buying speakers based on the equipment you either have or the equipment that you soon will have. So let's kind of walk through this under the presumption that you might choose some of the pieces of equipment that I've already recommended in this video. And the reason I say that is because if you're getting a fully automatic record player, for example, then the quality of the speakers that you're gonna get really doesn't matter as much, because if you're buying a fully automatic record player, you're choosing to buy it first and foremost because of the convenience it's going to bring you. And that convenience comes with a cost, and that cost is quality. You're just not going to be able to get great quality sound coming out of a fully automatic record player. The fact of the matter is that a fully automatic turntable is going to be a very affordable turntable, and it's going to be cheaper because it's going to be using cheaper parts, which means that things like the tone arm might be made out of plastic, or the cartridge might be a ceramic cartridge. I really wouldn't worry too much about speakers if you are buying a fully automatic turntable. Anything that you can afford that's reasonable can work, and if you're getting a fully automatic turntable that is Bluetooth capable, you could maybe even save a bit more money getting a smaller, more compact Bluetooth speaker. Now, with that said, if you're going with a fully automatic turntable that's also Bluetooth capable, I think I actually would recommend something like the Majority D40X speakers, which I actually have reviewed in the past and will link to the review that I did in the description below. Or if you want to save on space, you want to buy something that's a bit more compact, you could buy a Bluetooth portable speaker like the JBL Charge, for example. Now, if you're really going to commit to the hobby and you're going to buy a manual turntable and you're going to get a good cartridge right out of the box, or you're going to upgrade to a better cartridge down the line, then your options really start to open up a bit when it comes to speakers. Now, some speaker brands that I like are Cambridge Audio, or JBL, or Bowers & Wilkins, or PSB. And I actually do own some PSB Imagine Mini speakers that I actually really do like. Now, not only can you get speakers by more household brands like Sony or Sonos, but you also really need to figure out whether you want bookshelf speakers or tower speakers. And this is all going to be based not only on your budget, but the layout of your room, how far away you're going to be able to sit from your speakers, and you might even want to account for whether or not you're going to have more than 2 speakers, or if you're going to have a full surround sound audio setup going here. Ultimately, buying speakers in the vinyl hobby is really one of the more fun and exciting things that you can do when you're upgrading your audio setup. With that said though, I do think it's important to really drill down and figure out what you're going to ultimately do when it comes to your turntable and your phono preamp and even your cartridge, because you really want all of these pieces of equipment to work in harmony together to really make sure they're bringing you the best sound possible. You really don't want a weak link in your audio setup chain that's going to negatively impact the sound that's coming out of your speakers, because it doesn't really matter how much money you spend on your speakers if your phono preamp is terrible, if your cartridge is terrible, or if your turntable itself is just very, very cheaply made. And lastly, I know I really didn't talk too much about cartridges here because all of the turntables that I did discuss in this video do come with cartridges, but If you're interested in possibly upgrading your cartridge now or in the future, I did make several videos on the Ortofon 2M line of cartridges. Particularly, I reviewed the Ortofon 2M Red, the Ortofon 2M Blue, and the Ortofon 2M Bronze. So if you're interested in possibly buying any of those cartridges, I will link to all 3 of those reviews in the description below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, put the words "Let's go vinyl" in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below. I always appreciate it when you do that. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel devoted to vinyl if you want to be alerted whenever a new video drops. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video. And as always, stay devoted to vinyl.